Oh, yeah.
We are back.
After hiatus.
Hiatus.
Again. It's the season for those kinds of things.
It is a season. Hello and welcome to ITZ Happenin show, community grassroots media for the people by the people. I'm Joseph Gloria.
And I'm Dylan Thompson. We are a host tonight.
We're your hosts indeed. Indeed. It's happening as a movement with the hardening of the mind. It's the energy of the universe that creates waves inside us and all around us, which allows us to activate, motivate, and elevate vibrationally and intellectually towards truth, justice, and wisdom. It's happening in every which way.
It's Happenin is a culture of empowerment. It's people having the right to exist and participate as equals. It's a dream of what the world could be, but the future we want is only possible if we make it happen. So stand up, get informed, and fight back.
Fight back.
Sure you can. Oh, whoa, sorry.
You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us, so we thank you because of you.
It's happening.
Ooh, there we go.
Ooh. Whoa.
In.
It always comes out smooth.
After, we just had to take a few weeks off for us to get
I've been training. I don't know if you can tell, but that's all new material.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah. So, what's happening, man?
Man,
Miss you.
What? Yeah, not too much has been going on.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't had a show since the elections. That's
so much has gone on. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I had no way of getting it out. Ben's tired of hearing me talk about politics.
But is he still watching? He'll like tune out till our fabulous guest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'll be like, and then once, he'll put us on mute, and then once he sees, the other person come on, then he's like, all right, I'm back. Just kidding.
Man.
Shout out to Ben, top fans. Shout out to all the people that waited patiently for us to come back. Yeah, missed y'all. So we got all sorts of fun things to talk about today.
Oh, yeah.
And a little later on, we're going to have Manny Escamilla, who's going to talk about all things Santa Ana politics, Orange County, and congressional. And yeah, we're gonna have a post-election show, so it's going to be pretty exciting. A post-election segment on tonight's show. So wait around for that. But first things first, let's get to it.
First, it's our time. This is not for the audience.
Yeah.
This is for me and Jose. I've
Yeah.
not had a good one-on-one with him right now. This is how I treat this part.
Yeah. How are you feeling? Right here.
That is right in here. Warm and fuzzy.
What's this feeling like?
Feels like Christmas. Wait. Oh no, it's heartburn again. Yeah. No, I'm good. Ooh. Okay. This should help. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, beautiful.
Ew.
Oh, that didn't help, but
but
only temporarily. So what's up, man?
No, I mean, we'll talk more about the election later, but I mean, are you happy that Trump lost? I mean, is that the question to ask?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Definitely, definitely stoked that he lost. Definitely not surprised, right? We talked about this. He was not going to concede, and and everything that's been happening. So since then, but yeah, it's been all sorts of wackiness, and I check out the Trump's Twitter feed, and every other post of his it has like a disclaimer, right? The contents of this tweet are being questioned. For more information, go here. Some or all of this is deemed to be false. That's embarrassing, right?
Ooh. Yeah, for sure.
Big daddy Twitter coming down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I was happy. I will admit to see that Trump lost, and that my lesser of two evils won here. But yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that is maybe because maybe we live in a bubble, or maybe I do, as far as being in California and the community I'm in, but that it's not common to meet a lot. I know some Trump supporters, right? Some people who maybe they're not even overt supporters, but lesser two evils things. But I mean, still, like virtually half the country still voted for this guy. And it's like, when I get it, like, fuck Trump and everything, but I mean, I don't think we changed anyone's mind pretty much. Like, it was roughly the population breakdown was similar to last time as far as that distribution. Maybe more people voted. Okay, I shouldn't get into this. I'm so sorry. But I'm so sorry. But
Yeah.
I just...
The question is, do you feel happy about Trump losing yesterday?
Yeah.
The answer is
yes. That's the short answer.
Next question.
Long answer, but it is sobering that, I mean, like, I feel like we still need to change people's minds, the people that we don't agree with somehow. And I feel like there's a time for saying fuck you, and a time for maybe hopefully reconciliation or some kind of way to move forward. Like, is there going to be a way to use conservative rage to make positive change? I have no idea.
Yeah, well, that is going to be the key. There's just a lot of people that you can't cancel. Can't cancel all these 7 million, right? Or 70 million voters of Trump. How many was it? 70?
It's like, I think about that.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot, buddy.
Yeah. So.
73 million to 79.
That's right. It's
almost 80.
It's a lot of people that, and it was way closer. So that's all. Like, he lost for sure. It wasn't even as close as Bush v. Gore, but he didn't get swept as the polls showed. So the polls were wrong.
Again.
Not
as wrong.
And but yeah, people were expecting just an overwhelming win for Biden, and that was not the case. This was very, very close, and a big part of the country was thinking that this whole thing was rigged, and for a fact, and they will not accept. But then they didn't really accept Obama too, right? So that just happens. People just tune out politics, and whenever it's brought up at Christmas or Thanksgiving, you mean Barack Hussein Obama, the Muslim? And you're just like,
oh boy.
All right, Uncle Bobby, let's just go ahead, change the subject. Go keep watching football. You're good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, maybe we'll avoid a lot of that, or it'll be done over Zoom, and you can actually just, you could just disconnect. You could like kick or ban your family members from your Thanksgiving Zoom, and that's it. They're home. Everything's fine. There's no awkwardness,
Yeah.
It's a good thing. That's a silver lining of this COVID stuff.
All right. Well, speaking of COVID, let's go ahead and transition into our top stories.
Top stories.
Dylan Thompson.
Starring Dylan Thompson.
The one and only.
Santa Ana, California. Okay, I won't do the whole thing. Planet Earth. Okay, so, guys, we're back. They prophesized this. The evil Democrats, the evil doctors, they're like, COVID's coming back, baby. It's going to backlash. And lo and behold, code purple. California is at the purple level of, I don't know how they measure it on the spectrum, but purple's bad, apparently. Okay?
Yeah. Politically and COVIDly.
Purple dino Barney's man. You found a way. You found a way. He got straight into it. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're going there. Feel liberated.
Yeah. After 3 weeks, you're just like hot. It's gonna be a lot of hot.
No,
days.
After 1 year of not working on any campaigns, yeah. Savage Gloria is back. Coming.
There
for
you go.
all y'all dinos.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
But we're saying COVID is surging. Looks like LA is going to be shutting down their outdoor dining. Of course, Orange County's sheriff is saying we're not going to enforce these curfew and mask orders. So different reactions and the usual pushback coming from Orange County. You better get your goddamn toilet paper, man, because the COVID makes you take the shits. Takes it.
These are priorities, man. Like we can't, life is bad enough as it is without having something to wipe your butt with. However, in all of these things, I am very much considering buying a bidet. At the very least, just hooking up like
Very cosmopolitan.
Yeah, just just running the hose from from the house right through the
Do it yourself.
bathroom window and just like
Given how much time we're at home, there are a lot of like home improvement projects moving forward.
Yeah.
That's one. You already have the damn hose, so you already take shits and you have a hose. Necessity is the mother of invention. So.
Yeah, no, but it's it's a crappy situation.
That's for the audience.
Bring it on. Yeah, we're bringing it.
Yeah. The humor is happening, but I do wonder here if there's some kind of correlation between like the spiking of the outbreaks and like which one came, because like I just ran out of the toilet paper I hoarded at the start of this thing. And now it's purple again. I have to go through this again. Like I should have had more foresight in the pre-purple era to buy some TP.
Dude, yeah, the struggle is very real with the toilet paper. I mean, I still haven't found any Lysol in months. I don't. Yeah, if anybody's got some hookups on the light.
Yeah, I know. Actually, dude, I know a guy.
All right.
Yeah. Let me know.
It's the Afghan Lysol, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, top notch. Top shelf type, like connoisseur grade type.
Top shelf. Is that what do they call it now? Top shelf isn't top shelf. It's a private reserve. Private reserve. Yes.
So I've heard. Yes.
You got to get that private reserve.
Yeah.
So we're back in it, baby.
Back in it, dude. I mean, it's troubling, but it's not surprising. Folks are partying. You know what I think about it? Like when I was young, folk like teenager, right? Like like early 20s. You think nothing can kill you, right? So like it doesn't surprise me that you hear left and right like parties happening with these kids coming together and not social distancing and just like freaking and dancing and doing Nas tank hits and just all that kids just having unprotected sex, all that young kid stuff, and so like this is helping spread, and it's a matter of time, right? And it's the same reason why they don't want to open up Disneyland. The big Universal Studio, in Florida is open, right? The Disneyland over there, but the one here is not, because they just don't trust the Huntington Beach people coming over here with their with their COVID and infecting us. But no, man, like especially in Santana and Anaheim, like cases doubled in like from one day to the next, and so it's really troubling. And so definitely take precaution, be careful, but it's not fun for the businesses, especially as the Congress is not able to pass further a stimulus package, right?
Oh yeah, they're still working on that somehow. And just one quick fun fact: I saw an article showing these protesters going, like Trump supporters that were protesting the vote in Orange County. They're in front of the OC Registrar of Voters office, like holding signs. Shows like the police lining up out there. But it's funny because in this case, like the protesters are cheering on the police, like "good job," but it's like. It's not like the normal kinds of protests I go to when the protesters are like, Anyway, it's kind of a different flip. But the police are out there like guarding, and the protesters, "We love you." It's like maybe we should try that.
Yeah.
On the next protest, kind of take them for a loop. We're like, wait, they love us? Wait, what? Oh, huh. Wow.
Yeah, well, maybe we change it to chant, like.
Yeah, we love you. Okay, wow.
ACAA, all cops are awesome.
Oh my goodness. It could be, maybe that's like an art of war thing. You know what I'm saying? You always need to appear as you're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Next level tactic. We'll try it here. This is all new. This is all new stuff. We didn't even talk about this before the show. Okay.
This is true. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna die on this story. Let's move ahead.
Oh, I just want to okay. All right. But yeah, last thing, get Gavin Newsom's voice It's really annoying me. Like, I think he does a fairly decent job, but I always feel like, dude, can somebody give this man some freaking cough drops, or like clear his voice? Want him to sounding like Christian Bale from from Dark Knight.
Oh my god. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. He must have it. I don't know what that is.
And we just got to make sure that everybody's not attending parties with their staff, as I did, and it got caught. Well, if you do it, just make sure nobody takes pictures.
Just don't go to French Laundry with it. Yeah, he's the next Batman. I think actually that's probably most of the time it's California governors are celebrities that become the governor. This guy could, he could go into Hollywood as Batman, I feel, after.
I was with the governor of a great state of California.
Recalled in 2021. Okay. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
All right, moving on to equally just absurd but not so funny stuff. Trump's legal challenges continue to. Oh wait, no, that's pretty funny. Trump's legal challenges continue to fail. So yeah, he's losing his mind over Twitter, of course, but he's also losing, the battle in the courtroom. So now he only has the battle for the heart and soul of Americans, which, as it seems, a great percentage of the population is very much in the belief that it was rigged. He is the actual president in this alternate universe that they've created. So according to USA Today, in scathing ruling, judge dismisses Trump campaign's effort to overturn election results in Pennsylvania. So yeah, Pennsylvania federal court on Saturday denied President Trump's request to block certification on the state's election results. His lawyers time to find evidence to support their claims of fraudulent election system and improper ballot counting. So yeah, he issued a scathing ruling, which he's criticizing the campaign for lack of evidence to support its argument to potentially disenfranchise every voter in Commonwealth who cast a vote, nearly 7 million. So he's just like, you're not going to not allow these people to vote because you think that most of them are going to be for Biden. Like, that's not. And so, yeah, Rudy Giuliani is making a fool of himself beyond, of course, calling for press conferences and Four Seasons landscaping instead of Four Seasons hotel. Whoopsie. Yeah. So yeah, it's his legal team is just falling apart. Legal cases, but he continues to say that he's going to appeal and he's going to continue to fight for the American people and the Constitution.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, apparently, a key government agency has finally acknowledged the win, though, for Biden, and has started a formal transition. That's the General Services Administration. Mm-hmm. So it looks like it's caving. Wondered how far this would go, how successful an actual opposite, because a bunch of people were like really scared of like, oh, Trump has seized all the courts, so he can just go through the court and snatch the election. That is, yeah, luckily a false alarm. Just like the nuke people who are like, technically the president could just nuke us all if he wanted to, the way the system's set up. We should change it, but he didn't do it. So again, we didn't get a nuclear option here.
Yeah, no, I mean, Governor Christie and other governors and senators were saying that the Biden team should have access to, some of the data that's being shared around COVID, especially because they did studies around, the issues that happened around 9/11 when, the Bush and Gore situation took long. And so that, information was not shared. Agencies weren't able to be updated and the new teams weren't set up in time, that could have potentially gotten, aware of the terrorist attack that was being planned. So, this could have drastic consequences. And Biden has said as much, right? President-elect Biden.
Oh, elect. Yeah, how dare you?
Put some respect on my name. It's elect, baby.
More like president-alleged. QAnon. Okay.
Right. We're going to talk to this with our guests in a bit too. So moving on to our next story.
Oh, yeah. So Germany will require companies to put women executives on their boards Interesting. So Germany's coalition government has agreed to a mandatory quota for women on boards of listed companies. And what's being hailed as a landmark moment for Europe's biggest economy is, according to CNN. Listed companies with management boards of more than 3 executives must appoint at least 1 woman to the C-suite, according to a statement Friday by Germany's Ministry for Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth. That's an interesting ministry. I don't know if we have such a thing. But yeah, I mean, it's quite an aggressive, or I mean, for Germany, such a big economy that has a low percentage of CEOs in those roles. It's a pretty bold move going for them, for larger corporations requiring them to have women, and a controversial one. I'm pretty much for it the way it's worded, because it's basically saying, like I think this is a good idea in organizing circles, to make sure like 40% of some body that speaks for the larger community should be composed of a balanced group of people, one that isn't favoring any gender in particular, right? So I see that being used. That's like they use in Rojava, right? In an anarchist organizing sense, they use that for their decision-making process. And whereas words, where is Kang when you need him? Where is Kang? Kurdistan, right? But it's interesting, it put in a private context. Kind of makes sense though. Large companies have a big effect on the general population. So they're saying large companies have some kind of responsibility to society. So they should be composed of a group of people that better represents it.
I agree. We should let women and minorities have equal opportunity to screw over the, like, yeah, this is an outrage. It can't just be white men doing, this to us. Like, everybody should be able to.
Yeah, exploitation is a woman's game as well. Too true. Yeah. You are a true feminist.
I mean, and it's interesting because affirmative action proposition here in California failed, in similarly trying to, put laws in place that allows for minorities or Black folks to be put in colleges and other, things of that nature. And I mean, California is super blue and rejected affordable, and this is not the first time, and it was rejected across the country. So yeah, like, who knows? I mean, like, we'll see how this turns out in Germany, but yeah, there is something to be said about, having equality and mandated equality, because that's the only way that, sometimes these things happen, right? Yeah, you can't expect people to, on good faith, just do the right thing. That's not how the world works more often than not. All right.
Right. Yeah. So a libertarian would oppose such a measure, right? But you have to wonder, like, I mean, you don't want to have to mandate things from above, but think about like what happened with civil rights or different things like women's right to vote. I mean, was that not a good move? I mean, like what was a better solution we could have come up with to transform our society, transform our culture, transform individuals too? So
waited for Jesus to like compel their people's hearts.
Amen.
See the light and be like, maybe Black people aren't inferior to me. Maybe there's something about, love everyone as I love you stuff that, Jesus was literally speaking about, not just like, yeah.
Somehow it doesn't translate to everyone.
All right. But yeah, so I agreed. So whatever, whatever with the libertarians. Screw them. I don't know.
We'll see let's see what happens,
Let's see what happens is good. And moving on to our last story, our segue story, before we get into our guest tonight, Manny Escamilla. Santana, what did Orange County residents tell us this past election about themselves? So this is Norberto Santana. Exact. From the Voice of OC, friend of the show, the 2020 election is officially winding down, with a Friday deadline looming at the Orange County Registrar of Voters Office for the receipt of any ballots mailed out on Election Day. OC Registrar mailed out on Election Day. OC Registrar of Voters Neil Kelly told me, Norberto Santana, that expects to be able to certify the election by Tuesday, November 24th. So things are not official until tomorrow. For updated election results, you can go to ocvote.com or the election page for Voice of OC. Kelly said that there's about 5,000 outstanding ballots. So, yeah, from a turnout perspective, this year's election was a tsunami, the most engaged in electorate in history. About 87%. That was a turnout, and it was only outdone by this 1960 and 1964 election, which was 90%. But featured a much smaller electorate of about 400,000 compared to today's 1.7 registered voters. So yeah, it was it was absolutely overwhelming, the amount in Santana specifically, and we'll ask our guest tonight, was pretty record breaking as well. So yeah, despite publicized concerns about potential problems with mail, Kelly said that it went very well considering the scope and the scale of the things. So yeah, it's
Neil Kelly.
Yeah, Neil Kelly.
Shout out.
Good job.
Who is this guy?
Yeah. All right.
I know we interviewed one of his subordinates, but I don't know. I feel like they did a really good job the past 4 years. Kind of like they went above and beyond what they were asked to do, or,
Yeah, but
like
they have needed to be prodded, including putting more boxes, ballot boxes in other parts of Santana that were.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So, and that's how democracy works. But
Indeed.
What can I say? What can we say? Santana progressives killed it.
Oh.
Boom. Oh snap! So
wait.
So yeah, like there was a massive sweep and a massive change after 26 years of Pulido. We have a new mayor. We'll have a new mayor, mayor-elect Vicente Sarmiento. I also have Jesse Lopez that was able to win. We got Jonathan Hernandez that also won, and we have Ty Viet Fan. So yeah, there's just like all sorts of new faces, younger, and allegedly more progressive. That will be determined.
Yes.
I'll be the judge of that. With that, I want to bring on to the show Manny Escamilla. Manny is an art and culture commissioner, podcaster with his very own show. Check him out. Historian, archivist, a walking encyclopedia.
The People's Archivist.
Right. Closeted death metal enthusiast.
That's not a closet at all. Everyone knows that about me. That knows anything about me.
How dare you?
That's right.
And one of the greatest tragedies is that I was not able to go see Coffins, their Japanese death grind band, and they were going to tour the United States for the first time in like 10 years or 5 years or something. And COVID.
How dare you?
Yeah.
That put it in a coffin.
Yeah. Fuck COVID for reals. But yeah, thanks a lot, Manny. I think this is the third time we've had you on the show.
Is it the third already? The second time? Third time?
Yeah, that's what I saw. Record show. This is your third time, sir. Yeah.
Our archives indicate.
Our archives
otherwise.
All right, my memory's a little hazy then. All right, let's.
Your third. Yeah, it's like this is like the 3-6 though. So you better make it good or you're out.
That's how it works.
Kidding. Yeah, and that's payback for not having us on your show. Ooh.
Damn. Okay.
Fair trade. You still don't have to come on, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'll take that.
All right. Well, Manny, thanks again for being on. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and you were also very, you were a crucial part in a lot of the things that were happening behind the scenes, in support of different candidates, and having had the experience of running in your camp, your time, and that. I'm sure learned lessons and all these things, and but how do you feel about what happened? First of all, just personally, on a personal level.
No, I'm definitely excited about the opportunities and the chance to kind of start fresh at the city council here in Santa Ana. So really the policy direction that we're going to be looking at is pretty much going to be in polar opposite of the direction that we were heading down. And, at least for me, it's kind of validating in the sense that, part of the reason that I ended up leaving the city's employment was that I really thought that the city needed a different direction. And, kind of devoted a lot of my time over the last year trying to get the pieces in play in order to make that happen here locally. So I was more then a little excited on as the initial results came in, and then the second batch and the third wave of results came in that first day. All the trend lines were looking good, so cautiously optimistic. I think the big hurdle for me though is that it still hurts that we lost the race for the first board of supervisors. So I've kind of been digging into the data there to kind of see a little bit as to what might have happened. But overall, I thought it was a good night for Santa Ana. I think that now the thing that remains is the challenge of governance, and that's not something that's like too far from my mind. Is like, what does the actual game plan look like for progressives in a city where there's a tenuous maybe 4-person majority with the ability to bring in other council members on board for common sense issues, but then knowing that you need at least 5 votes in order to move the money around. So unless it's a mid-year budget review in which you only need 4, those are going to be restrictions that are still placed by the system that we operate under. And I think a lot of the victories that did happen, that night, at least in Santa Ana, were attributable to some systemic changes, like ward-based elections, and the ability to kind of just get a new wave of candidates in there, right? So there were no incumbents for a lot of these races, and they still managed to flip over.
Oh yeah. So what do you think the effect of the wards were here? With a major effect, you think, or difference from last time?
Well, the way that I always saw it, and I was kind of a proponent of ward-based elections, was that there's a disproportionate kind of share of votes that comes in from a band in the south and then a band in the northern parts of the city. So typically, like candidates that were maybe a little bit more conservative would overall in a citywide election tend to get some of those votes, and then that would kind of tip them over in order to kind of beat that next second ranked competitor. So what ended up happening in this particular race is everyone that won basically ran a campaign that was very much targeted with door-to-door, on the ground voter outreach on a much more personalized level. This was an opportunity in which a single council candidate, if they wanted to, had the opportunity to phone, a significant portion of the households, right? So, there's a difference between trying to phone, 25,000 households versus only 5,000. Like that makes a huge difference. Your presence in the neighborhood is something that is, well, they can't be purchased, right? That is like kind of one force of equalization. The other thing that you also see is that the messaging and the issues are going to be much more tied into the very specific needs of a particular community, right? So you don't have to kind of generalize the approach. I think one of the things that we saw here is that money doesn't necessarily buy elections, right? So each one of the candidates with the most amount of money, the most amount of mail, and the most amount of probably let's say like hired kind of outside consultants and stuff, they did pretty badly on average, right? So that was something that I was actually concerned about initially. I wasn't sure whether or not I think like Gustavo Arellano's worry was that money would be amplified at a much more smaller and targeted location. But at least in this election, the forces that be, or the powers that be, use their money unwisely. And I hate to say too much because I don't want to give it any advice for the next cycle, but they wasted a lot of money. Like they wasted a lot of money doing things that I think through my own experience we've been finding that are less and less effective over time. And part of the growth, I think, of the progressive base is that we're starting to get more organized. A lot more of us have experience in direct electoral politics, and it's translating those policies and kind of the ideals of governance into winning campaigns. And it's not to say that this is like the only it's only up from here, because it's not, right? Like there could be a serious backlash in 2022. There's the potential for folks to disappoint. There's the kind of unforeseen circumstances that maybe change or mitigate what the city can do with severe budget crisis. Maybe less so with the Biden administration now that we might get some kind of local budgetary relief. But there are a lot of outside factors that I don't want folks on the left and the progressive kind of side of things to get so enamored with the victory and then kind of stop, because we need to still continue that pressure. We still need to stay organized. We still have to build up the infrastructure, especially now that there's more of a responsibility to actually make a difference in people's lives.
Oh yeah,
100%. Like it like makes me think about like the history and what led up into this moment, right? So you remember 4 years ago, of course, Benjamin Vasquez ran for mayor. got a lot of votes. Like didn't raise some money, but still like was able to like run a people powered campaign. Came up short. Also Ana Ursua. So I feel like they kind of like in a way were paved the way, or were like just broke through and just like activists slash organizers should step put throw their hat in the race and run on the issues that matter, and like the special interests be damned, whether it's the POA or the landlord and realtor associations. Usually the people that are always attacking and whom people fear when it comes to passing progressive policies on the council. So, but and then of course you ran, and like we learned a lot from your campaign, and and others. I mean,
I definitely learned a lot from that too.
Yeah, it's all part of the learning experience. And and so all to say that like progressives, the Bernie campaign happened, and spend a lot of money, federal money, on the 46. That I feel personally tilled the soil for for a campaign to really address those young voters that the campaign was specifically targeting, young progressives that that came out to vote this time around, because Trump is the biggest GOTV tool that the Democratic Party's ever had, right?
Right, and he turned out to be a good GOTV, so get out the vote driver for conservatives as well, though, right? Like this race to me was this election cycle was interesting for the sheer turnout, right? Like these are incredible numbers that we're seeing out of some precincts. Santa Ana, I think, was mostly between the areas of like 75 to like 82 to 83% of registered voter turnout. But there were portions and precincts that had like 92, 93% of people coming out to vote that were registered to vote. And portion of those registered were probably just people that were no longer living in the area that then didn't vote because they no longer lived in the area, right? So the massive amount of public involvement, I think, gave us a better understanding of the American electorate, like larger electorate, right? Because the thing that we always forget, I think, is that there's just so many people that don't vote in this country, right? We're still only looking at about maybe like half the people that are then really eligible and then register, that actually come out and like turn the ballots in, and then smaller percentage of that actually do that on a consistent basis. So with that, I think it gives us a better understanding of kind of the potential for votes that are out there. And I think that, one of the phrases we're probably going to be using a lot here is progressive or left or something, left of center, right? But I think a lot of the basic ideas that we're asking for and a lot of the basic things that we'd like to see in this country are actually across the board popular, and that should be centered as the reasonable approach to governing a society, that it shouldn't necessarily be some kind of crazy idea. I think the crazy idea is to give tax breaks to the wealthiest amongst us, to solely invest in the FIRE kind of sector, which is basically finance, investments, and real estate, and not investing in our productive capacity as a country, not putting any money into our roads, not putting anything into telecommunications, not being able to actually build anything and to have like that robust infrastructure, because those are political choices, right? The fact that we have an economy and a stock market that is so divorced from the everyday realities of people struggling to pay their rent, struggling to kind of make a better life for themselves, to have at least some form of material, not even prosperity, but just stability. That is not un-American. That is not something that the majority of people disagree with. And I think we fall into this trap of trying to be like, yeah, this is a great, crazy, like lefty idea, because they're not crazy ideas. It's very practical, like, I think approach to what we would want to see. And, I'm just hoping that at least here locally, we're going to be able to enact some of those laws that we can do here. If we can't wait for the state and we can't wait for the federal government to do anything, it's, going to have to be on the at the grassroots level here in the city.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Corruption should not be a political issue. Like how our society operates to benefit us or harm us should not be that political. And so, yeah, we definitely have a lot of places to agree on. I want to come back to the Santa Ana elections because I feel like there's just so much meat here to go through with regard to some of the races. Like, so mayor, right? Vince swept it, right? I mean,
it was a solid victory, right? So he had, I think, about a 12% win. Well, we should ask someone who was the inside, who has the inside scoop and should know all these numbers down to the precinct level.
10,000 votes, baby. Mandate.
Matt me.
Yeah, I thought it was 12,000.
Won by 10,000 above Claudia Alvarez. I think it was, it was really close between Claudia and Ceci. And Solorio, in last place. Oh my God! There's a lot of good things that happened.
Jose did not get last. He beat George Collins and he beat Mark Lopez.
We got rid of Pulido and Solorio in one elections. My God!
Damn.
And Villegas, just for good measure. Jeez Louise.
Ouch. Yeah, but I wonder though. Do we see? I see a parallel between the Ward 3 race and the mayor in that like you could only really identify one person as progressive. Or like think about mayor. Who's next more progressive than Vince? Jose Solorio?
It's weird. I'm gonna go with George Collins. Maybe. No, he's actually
more community oriented.
Isn't he like a COVID denier?
COVID denier, anti-masker. Actually, I don't even know if he's anti-mask. George is probably gonna see this, so I want to get this right. No, he's a Trump supporter for sure. He said like something about the elections not being done until December 20th because we can't call it yet because it's not certified. And he had a really interesting drone proposal, like of police drones that were like kind of like semi like sci-fi futuristic, which I thought was interesting coming from George. Because his website is like straight like out of GeoCities, like early 90s like websites. So it was actually kind of cool. It was very different than anything else I saw in this election cycle. But yeah, like there was no progressive folks because everyone was trying to run to the middle. It was like this mad rush to be like, I'm the most conservative in the middle person you could possibly find. And just from a general strategy like standpoint, it doesn't make any sense if you know that there's only a certain amount of points on the table to get. And if anyone even bothered, I don't know who the consultants were for all these other folks, but if anyone even bothered to take a look at the Democratic returns in the primary, they would have just seen that Bernie Sanders swept everything except for like one tiny little corner that I think didn't even go to Biden. It went to somebody else because like one vote, like that one person, that one precinct voted for somebody else in the Democratic primary. So, there was a large kind of fertile set of voters here that wanted something other than kind of establishment early 1990s Democrats. And don't get me wrong, that's what it took to win in Santa Ana and in Orange County at a particular point in time. But the party, the party hasn't, but the electorate has moved beyond that. And part of that ends up being that this quote unquote youth vote. A lot of us are just like in our mid early 30s, later 30s, and we're still like the youth vote because everyone's living so long and the boomers are sticking around, and that's good, like healthy lives, that's great, everyone's living forever. But it also means that kind of the folks that are in power are having a harder time relinquishing that power, and it's going to basically take this demographic wave that we're seeing finally have its political clout and its kind of day in the sun. So I don't see that reversing, but what I do see potentially is that if we are unable to address the needs of the people that didn't vote for us and the folks that basically would be between what's already been those 33% and then getting to that 50% plus one or something, that is and could be a strategic mistake. We don't want to basically discount an entire electorate, and we do need to basically represent all of Santa Ana, but that's going to take work, and that's where I think the work comes in. We have a solid core and a solid base, and we're not going to forget that, and we're going to govern with those values. But at the same time, you don't want to live in a democratic society where it's a minority of voters and vote that you're only kind of providing for. And I think that that's one of the things that we have to be cognizant of as we move forward.
Yeah. It's the same with like what Dylan was talking about earlier, right? With the Trump supporters, like, these people are still here and so are centrists. And so like, they can't just be like, oh, well, screw you guys, we're going with the youth and progressives. Like, it's still like a burgeoning kind of situation. But what is clear is that mailers are not king, right? It's not, like all you got to do is just mail to people. Like there was just so much more that, happens with the campaigns. Especially now with social media, that Obama was, was the first candidate, but I think it definitely played a role. it's like, how does a Mark McLaughlin lose? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just go down the list. Like,
Yeah.
so
Oh my
like
God.
POA lost big, right? Because pretty much every endorsed candidate lost. So really, like, this is a big shift, like a cosmic, seismic shift in Santana politics. And one being Mark McLaughlin, like, the popular white dude losing against Jesse Lopez and other people. So tell us like that.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. And I guess here's the thing. I guess going down through 3, and I think someone asked to go into Ward 3 in depth. I'm going to see. Oh nope, Benjamin Vasquez, friend of the show.
Who is that? Oh yeah, top fan.
Top fan. So I was probably involved with that campaign a little bit more so than the others, and and I'll be totally honest. Right, I know Mark. I think he's a good guy, and I think in fact that out of all the wards, Ward 3 is probably the most competitive. It had a lot of good people for different values, right? Like, so even our more conservative folks that were up there actually had, I think, the intention to govern and really had kind of like policies and ideas that they want to move forward. And I just disagreed with them a little bit, but they wouldn't have been bad additions in and of themselves to the city council. So part of, I think, the reason that we essentially won is that Jesse recognized that Ward 3 was more than just 2 neighborhoods, right? So it's important to note that there are, a lot of folks that vote in Park Santiago and in Floral Park, but if you take them as an aggregate, they're basically less than 20%, I think, together. I have to look at the exact numbers to see exactly kind of what those votes break down to. But there was a significant portion of Ward 3 that would have basically have been ignored, potentially, under different folks, and at least during the campaign, weren't necessarily targeted because they were lower propensity voters. However, in this high propensity major wave election, that kind of pathway to victory opened up. And again, what we saw was, looking back at previous campaigns, when Ana Arzuta ran, she also ran against Patrick, and I can never say Patrick, but I know Patrick from Valley, Patrick, the former principal from Valley.
Yeah.
And they actually had a lot of, what was it? They had a lot of similarities in their platform. They were coming in from 2 slightly different camps, right? It's kind of this more like wealthier kind of homeowner liberal base that Patrick, I think, really tied into, and is kind of really keyed into the progressive kind of Floral Park vote. And that is kind of was his world. And Anna had a lot of kind of working class renters' rights groups and a lot of folks kind of on the ground fighting for her candidacy. And if you took those 2 kind of camps together, they would have won, right? Like, that was already like, oh, okay, like, we're just looking at a Ward 3 race. We're looking at just the people that are in that area. We have a good base. We just need to go and reach out and kind of recreate this. And part of it was that that centrist vote was split. Again, it was 1, 2, 3. 3 candidates running towards the middle and 1 running a little bit more conservative. So between that happening, that was probably the best field we could have asked for. There was like maybe 1 more thing we could have changed. With like Jesse, like, being a school teacher, I think is always like good. If you can get a school teacher designation, that's like another like couple of percentage points there.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, she outworked them all, right? So like the most amount of like ground game, the most amount of coordinating with other campaigns. I think that the ability to say like, oh, here's the folk, person that we want to see in for the mayoral seat. Here's a person we want to see over at the board of supervisors, and this is what we're trying to do here in this community, door by door, person by person, family by family. I think it's just crazy. I know that, and excuse me, Andrew Hauserman, if he's seeing this, I'm supposed to put together some graphics kind of indicating the specific statistics related to that campaign. There was just so much volunteer momentum there. Shout out to the Working Families Party helped out, and I think that their kind of technological infrastructure really assisted us as far as getting our voice out there in front of as many people. And we also relied, probably more so than other folks, I think, on a digital strategy and something that would involved non-mail. So we had a mailer. But it wasn't like the center point of our campaign. It was like, okay, here, we're a serious candidate, get us, let's get in front of you. But when other people were kind of knocking, we were basically COVID friendly door knocking rather than just kind of leaving hangers and then just saying, oh, well, someone's going to read this hanger. Like, no, we wanted to make sure we at least got in front of a person. And that was an interesting decision. I think it was kind of confusing for a lot of us. But then, like, as the science started coming out and saying that this particular activity is not necessarily one that was that dangerous, like in and of itself, we were like, okay, like this is something we can move forward. And then we did it. She was really, out there every day, creating alliances that I could only dream of, right? So I was never that good at like finding kind of organizational support, and she pulled it off. And I think that that's going to be one that I think we were the most worried about. Quite frankly, I thought that Juan Villegas was a relatively weak incumbent that lost his ward, so I thought everything was kind of being stacked against him since he didn't necessarily run his last campaign. It was much more of a POA-driven effort, and with the POA picking such a relatively weak candidate, right, that was less of a threat. And I think in Ward 5, we had two good choices. So my big fear there was that it was basically going to split the vote. And it kind of did, but at the end of it, Juan did so weak in his ward, right? So again, if we go back to the data, his particular ward was not who elected him. So it was north of 17th that essentially gave him the votes that then overcame, let's see, that was, oh my God, another Roman Reina, when Roman Reina was actually living in his ward. So that was kind of like another consideration there. So I don't know if we want to jump into Ward 5 or we still had other questions about Ward 3, because I kind of ranted a little bit and I want to make sure that I cover any questions, but I was trying to cover as much ground as I could.
Right. Think me
robust breakdown.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, just one more little observation about like comparing the mayor race to Ward 3. We both saw like a lot of candidates splitting the centrist vote, and then the progressive one winning. But what I thought was kind of interesting was the comparison of the performance of the conservative. Ceci did really well, I would say, for given her what's happened and everything. Like, she definitely has a base, and like Danny Vega running in Ward 3, as I would consider him the most conservative of the candidates. The most like, he just didn't have the pull. I mean, Ceci has a base still, and I don't know if it's like in the God We Trust, if like she just has had that base running through her career. She has some grassroots connection that gave her that. No, I wasn't sure what the difference was there.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And when we look at it, so she got about 21% of the vote there. The thing that Ceci has is she has a lock on the local Republican and kind of conservative members of this particular city. And, that is something that she, I would say, like Trump, very much appeals to, but then can't really grow beyond that, right? So if it's if it's a highly split election, she will come out with the strongest base. But when it's much more kind of one-on-one and there's at least other folks that can kind of like create a base and then also appeal to others, that's where she's a little bit more vulnerable, right? But she still retains her more evangelical, more conservative base that is really looking for individuals here that would not be endorsed by Planned Parenthood, that are pro-life, that are basically going to try to reduce taxes for everything except police and fire. And then, it's fine to get rid of the library, fine to get rid of the let's see, what else can we get rid of? Park space. They won't say that. They're like, oh no, we believe in parks and we believe in libraries and everything, but then you'll totally like remove the actual like funding mechanisms. So you have to choose, and they'll choose low taxes, and because that's what they believe will bring like the greatest amount of prosperity locally.
Right.
So that is something that when she appeals to that voting base, and she is offering an alternative, she is offering her vision. I can tell like that with Ceci, she's a true believer. That's I think what makes her scary to me, because coming in from the other side, I'm like, so she really believes all this. And to me, it's just like, okay, well, at least you have your particular team and your kind of set of voters. I just don't think it's enough, right? Again, looking at the demographics of the city, the amount of, how do I say this politely? the amount of young Latinos and Latinas leaving any form of organized religion, kind of like that exit from Catholicism, from evangelical circles, from any sort of belief infrastructure, because of its, to me, at least, it's my own experience, right? Inherent hypocrisy in the hierarchy of particular institutions, whether it's, the fact that a pastor can't do any wrong within its own congregation, or the entire Catholic church cover up and all that, right? Like, this is not necessarily a growing base of support. So with time, that ability to kind of rally around conservative issues is probably going to be diminished. So I don't necessarily see that being strengthened anytime soon, unless it pivots to more kind of anti-government, keep your hands off me, keep the taxes low. And I think we do see a little bit of that coming in from the libertarian side of the Republican Party, which to me actually makes a lot of sense and is probably a better way moving forward in places like Santa Ana.
I just wonder, like, we see Floral Park being, isn't it the most conservative, most highest registration of Republican voters?
That would be Park Santiago.
Okay. But I guess I'm meaning, like, I guess we kind of generalize this north of 17th image of, like, and I apologize to all those neighbors, but like there's this. Yeah.
As a Santa Ana researcher, historian, and archivist, every neighborhood has their own specific story and very unique circumstances, and they are all slightly different, and it varies household to household. But yeah, we have the most amount of Republicans that actually live in Park Santiago. That's kind of where we're at, and it's not even a majority or anything. It's just the most.
Yeah, but so I was wondering, like, was Jeffrey Katz a Democrat?
No, not from my understanding.
So only Danny Vega was the Republican?
So, and that's where I was actually confused. I thought Jeffrey Katz was a moderate Republican. I did not look up his voting registration. I don't know if it's like there. We can probably find out, or we can ask Jeffrey. But he ran like a very like nonpartisan campaign, right? It wasn't associating himself with any.
I remember he supported rent control, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was like one of those things where like I'm like, okay, cool, like that is one thing we can work on together if you get elected. I'm like, all right, like let's support that.
Yeah, well, like in the local races, the partisanship, it matters and it doesn't matter. You're right. Like the Republicans, by and large, once they know that Ceci's the Republican, we're going to vote for her. But it's beyond that. I mean, I think it really comes down to the evangelical / charter school, moms that, build up the base, that I call it the Ceci cult. Like it really, like they really like her and support her, like, and they don't give a damn. And, because they, she was there for them and represented them and in what they felt that they needed, which was somebody that was very pro Bible and pro life and and pro charter schools, and that there is a substantial amount of people. I mean, what is it? I think she got 14,000 votes or something. So, but I just don't think that style of politics is going to win in Santana.
Well, I would counter out. Like I would say, like Ceci going back into the school board, or again with Angie Cano and like running that, and like if too many people jump into that race, like that could be an issue.
You can win a council race in Floral Park or somewhere up like a conservative, maybe, I don't know, but I don't think she can win a mayor's race at large. I just don't see that, but I could be wrong.
Didn't happen.
Here's who's wrong. Here's who was very wrong. Shout out to friend of the show, Gustavo Arellano, who came on the show and gave like basically like all the wrong responses on all these things.
Well, only in the Santa Ana races.
Yeah, I mean on the other ones, but yeah, he was just very. So but it was funny because he was saying like, listen, like you don't want my endorsement and like I because I'm like not right about this, but
no, but was he wrong though? Because he said I'm always wrong. So
he was right in that he was always wrong. Yeah. No. So I mean, Jesse Lopez like worked her butt off, and like I think he definitely didn't think that she was gonna win, and she did, and like, it goes to her, and and other folks. I don't think he even remembered like Ty's like he's like that Asian woman.
No, Ty had the best setup for sure. Like she
had just ran, like she had crazy high, voter name recognition, and for as much as money as Tony Adame spent, and all this his cool art stuff that he with like the cartoonish type stuff, like it just didn't really connect with voters for what another. They thought he was Italian, I think. It's like, oh, Tony Adame,
but it was he got in there too late, and no, I think it was just beyond the voter recognition for Ty. Like that is the most Asian ward. So I was looking up the results. There was only one ward that voted for Trump in the city of Santa Ana, and that's on the west side of the city. And that's because we had a lot of more conservative Republican Vietnamese voters that were out there. And like if you look again at the demographics of it, it happens to be and was kind of built that way to be the most Asian American ward. So there's kind of this built-in ethnically polarized voting that does occur. So that is a bit as to what happened there. And she ran with high name ID, but also if you took a look at her and her position statements, her ability to basically articulate what she was going to do and understand the basic functions of government, she's an extremely competent candidate. Right? So like even if you like, well, I don't know about this or don't know about that, it's like the thing you can't question with Ty is that she knows what she's doing when it comes to city governance. She's a city attorney, right? Like that is a pretty good, qualification for anybody trying to run a city.
I would say so. That's some thick material. And if you're just fresh to it, I mean, think about like some of the people who are just like, okay, I'm going to run, and then they run and maybe they win. Think of how tired you must be winning. And now you have to read the entire like municipal code to really understand.
Candidates, and like once they win, they don't, which is sad. But it's like one of those things where it's weird because we are under a charter form of government and it's much more highly professionalized, but it becomes a question as to how much more, how do I say this? I don't want to say devious, right? But I should say devious in some instances, but how much more sophisticated are some of the executive directors and executive staff of a particular city, and if they're able to kind of run circles around staff, right? So that's something that we didn't see it like, or haven't seen it like so much with some of our newer kind of situations, but in prior instances where essentially Polito didn't necessarily control the council. What he controlled was the city's bureaucracy, and he was one of the only ones that was in there long enough to really develop those ties with the various directors to have an understanding as to what the legal procedures were between having the city manager do something, the city attorney, and the police chief, and then kind of being able to work all those internal negotiations to his particular end goal. And the thing that I'll always credit him is that he knew how to play the game. Like he was here long enough to set up most of the rules. And the reason he can basically go out and saying he's never lost a local race, he never lost a race in Santa Ana, he only lost one race, and that was a Democratic primary for Board of Supervisors. That's the only race he's ever entered in politics and lost. Everything else he was able to win, and that's a pretty good record.
And he would have still won had he probably had they not changed term limits. That fool would have still been there.
Vince is smiling now because of that decision.
And he voted for it, right? So that was one of Vince's votes. So again, setting the field.
Smart dude. Vince plays some 4D chess.
5D. What's Trump up to now? Is he 60 now? Like, I don't know what the followers.
I think it's a negative dimension for this guy. It's a negative 40.
We're getting into negative mass theory. Okay.
Cool. Whoa. Imaginary numbers and stuff.
I want to mention that district elections, played a huge role, right, in this election. But that's the same thing that happened in Anaheim, or a similar case that happened in Anaheim. Like once district elections passed, then a lot of like the more left leaning or progressive, or I think in Anaheim it's fair to say it's just like not in the pockets of Disney and the tourism industry. Like basically we're able to win and have some power over the Lucille Krings and Chris Murrays of the world, and that was so gratifying in so many ways. But next election they lost it all back, and then and then the next election, in this last one, they even gained ground. So I think it's definitely a caution tale to tell about what can happen, and all to say that district election in and of itself is not going to guarantee that progressive grassroots candidates win. You need to learn the game and continue to evolve with the game, because the other the powers that be, or the POA even, will learn, will get better, and crunch the numbers and figure out what works, what didn't work, and then be able to run better candidates or better campaigns.
No, absolutely. And part of it was also that in this particular cycle, the POA spent money, but not nearly as much, because they had spent so much money recalling Ceci. So in a weird way, Ceci was what slightly enabled excessive way of taking all that money. And I was like, wow, that was incredible.
God bless her soul.
500,000 to get rid of one councilwoman.
My God, yeah, they proved they could do it. So like it kind of instilled fear, but it also instilled the sense of saying like, this is not the city that I want to like live in. Why do I want to live in a democracy, quote unquote democracy, in which one particular agency, and in this case one particular person, Jerry Serrano, could basically say, I don't like a person, we're going to devote all this money and all these resources to getting rid of her. That is something that I think a lot of people, both on the left and the right, saw as fundamentally, how do I say this lightly, tyrannical? Is tyrannical is a light enough word?
I voted against it just because of that, but I hated Cecily. I'm like, no, fuck the POA. I hate the POA more.
So so that's one of these things where like I think they just overplayed their hand. Like to your point, they will probably play it better next go around, because they're gonna have a lot more money to work with, and then so same amount of seats.
Mayor's race is up in 2 years, along with others. So, isn't there an open seat too that needs to be filled?
Yeah, so there will be one open seat, so that'll be for the new Ward 6 area, which is basically what Sarmiento's old Ward 1 was. So the numbers moved around. Don't even pay attention to the numbers. Yeah, but it's basically the area on the southeastern portion of the city, basically roughly from the downtown down to the Delhi area and the industrial corridor along Standard. So it's like that entire little swoop of the city. So that one will be open. The other two, you're basically having Phil Becerra and David Peñalosa kind of flip the numbers, but they're basically running in their respective seats again. So there will be an incumbent. The thing that I understand, at least from that one, is Peñalosa will be basically, how do I say this? He'll have one term down, and then we'll be able to basically run for one more after that. So he's already chipped away, or will have chipped away at 4 years of his term, and then we'll be fighting for another 4. Since Phil Becerra came in under a special election, he's basically still starting from year 0. So the special election, I don't think actually counts towards his limit. So he would be able to be there still for an additional 3 terms after that.
Oh. That's the way to get in. That's like the Polito way to get in. You know what I'm saying? Milk those years. But actually, I want to come back again before we left Ward 1 and just ask the question. We got the technical person, but was Tony more progressive than? But like, what would you take? Would you take the experienced person over the progressive? I guess that's what we're gonna see in the next.
Wait, so Tony was progressive and not Ty? Is that?
I felt like Tony was more progressive than Ty is.
Okay.
Just based on their answers and the debates and everything, like Ty is amazing. Like the skill set she's bringing is phenomenal. But I felt like Tony wasn't too in touch with a lot of progressive ideas, but I think he naturally had an affinity with working people and stuff. So
yeah, he definitely came from a solid working class background, had a really great story. I think the folks that he had aligned himself with, you kind of naturally led him towards that sort of path as far as looking at and it's tough, right? Because I think that on the local level, there's maybe a slightly less amount of issues you can kind of differentiate yourself with, and kind of the way that you treat rental protections, rent control, and then I guess the technical term would be development extractions. Like whenever you have a new development, what is it that the city attempts to extract out of that development, either in the form of low-income housing, open space, additional funds for other city activities. That seems to be kind of like one of those bellwethers, and it was really hard to actually tell kind of where some of them were, because I know Ty danced around some issues where she was like very like pro certain issues maybe during her initial race, because it helped differentiate herself with the other folks like Nelly the Mendoza when she was running that special, but then also like knowing the complications of an issue like Willowick, right, which is was a huge point of debate as far as what the direction the city was going to go in. And there I thought maybe Tony was a little bit more straightforward in saying like, well, this is really what I would like to see, but then without using the phrase like, I'd also like for-profit development there, but and that was like a little bit unclear to me as well. The other thing that they seemed to both have agreed on was the police oversight board, which became a unanimous thing across the board, right? So like anyone that wanted to remain viable, I think except for Claudia Alvarez never touched this issue. Was to say, police oversight, that's like something that's very basic. If it makes up 75% of our general fund, we should have some community input at the very least as to how that money is spent, because we have an arts commission, which I'm on. Not bashing the arts commission, but our budget is minuscule, right? Like our budget's less than like one police officer essentially for the year. And I'm overseeing that. Like, why do I have to like devote my entire brain power to oversee like less than like one police officer's budget when we don't have anyone overseeing the entire department or overseeing like police and fire or other forms of safety?
That's right, current government of Santa Ana.
That's right.
Well,
or
incoming,
elected officials.
Incoming,
elect. City councils elect. Yes.
Well, why don't members elect?
Members elect. Why don't we hit on Ward 5 a little bit more? I have a little confusion about Ward 5. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. You're saying maybe Juan was always a weak candidate.
Oh, definitely.
But I thought he
why do you say that though?
He said that he had more meetings than anybody else in his ward. Is that, first of all, is that true, Manny?
Yeah, but you don't have to have that many more meetings than to like have more meetings than the current council members. Like, look, I think him and Bill, like with their like David Penaloza is probably the person that I've seen the most in public events for his ward. But you don't have to meet that many people. And the problem becomes, and this is something that as a staff member you like to do, but at the same time you can't really say it or critique it, which is that when you go to these meetings, it's the same 20 people over and over again, which was my big critique of it. It's saying like, look, I run into Dylan, I run into you, I run into a lot of like great members of the neighborhood associations, but it's always the same people. So if you're relying on just those community meetings, you're not really getting out there. And the reason I say he was a weak candidate for that particular race was because if you looked at his results in Ward 5 when he won in 2016, he was handily defeated within his own ward. So he had to make up all that ground. Basically, like Roman Reina's voters remembered that they voted against him. He would have had to make up that ground that entire time, which I don't necessarily know that he did. And then the basics of running a campaign, he didn't really experience that in 2016. It was a campaign that was largely organized with POA support to kind of get him over the hurdles. And even if it didn't like necessarily reflect his own how do I say this? Even if it wasn't being controlled, because I don't think he was, I thought it was a fairly independent actor. He benefited a lot from having that be the case, and then again getting a lot of votes from like, a sheriff's officer, again, particular
public
like
safety.
Public safety, areas of the city, bam, you get some votes and it cleans up. So, with that, I thought he was, out of the incumbents that we had, he's probably one of the easiest ones to pick off because of that major transition from a citywide to a ward-based election. And that's where I thought that, I thought Jonathan had a shot from like the early times he told me he was running. I thought that the Laura Perez could have run. I thought it was going to split the votes. I thought, okay, that's less likely. So I was worried about that race and figuring out like, okay, well, can like Laura or Jonathan get in there? And I thought that it was going to be harder with both of them running, because that was like the one race where you had a little bit less of a kind of clear, like this is a progressive person and no one else is even close. This is more like you have two progressive people. You have one that a lot of activists really like, and then one that a lot of activists don't like. But on the policy side, if you kind of look at the policies like side by side, they have fairly similar governing philosophies that they're articulating.
Yeah, but Laura did start, pretty late comparatively to, so I think that, was definitely a significant factor. But Villegas, that guy. Poor guy. He did so much POA butt towards the end too, and he was doing it for free because they weren't going to endorse him. Poor guy.
Well, I do want to give him an honorable mention. I kind of felt bad. I hate it when I see but come on, give the guy some credit, because he was one of the people that voted against the POA thing, and I felt like he spent the rest of his term kind of trying to make up for regretting it, or trying to see like, I love my officers. I'm a police officer too. And he spent the rest of every council meeting. I felt like he was finding ways to say I'm sorry. But I mean, I'll give him credit for that, and so God bless your heart, Juan Vegas. I mean,
like no credit here, no credit.
Bon voyage. I mean, come on, why not? It's the same thing with Ceci. Ceci was destroyed because of what she did, and why not give Juan the same kind of? Why can't you just nod and say, you took a principled decision that was against everything people thought. He was bankrolled by the POA in his election. Why would he vote against them? So, I mean, why can't we applaud that?
Damn,
I'll applaud it. Like, all right.
I feel bad. Okay, you don't have to feel bad for him. I'm just saying. I'm just acknowledging
credit
that.
for when Solorio voted for district elections. I was like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad, but he did do that. But I wanted, what is the Laura versus Jonathan thing? I guess I don't understand that too. Laura's late to the game. Did it matter that Laura's last name was not on her campaign signs? I don't know what the difference was. Like you said, the policies seemed similar.
Yeah, I think that the policies seem similar. I think it was really just more a matter of timing and having a little bit more campaign infrastructure kind of ready to go. So that I think was really the challenge there. So, sorry, I'm just laughing at the comments, and we're getting some fairly important folks kind of going for the no credit option. So, Joe, I think you got the crowd favorite going.
No credit given.
So on that one, I think that was partially it. I had less of an insight as to probably what Laura Perez's campaign looked like. So I really should probably not the best person to ask as to kind of what things could have been happening there. But the thing I can say is that Jonathan had basically been planning this for a long time, right? So he had kind of like a strategy in place, and then essentially executed on that strategy. And that was something that it does help out, right? So for any kind of progressives out there that want to be and want to kind of see different folks on the council, starting early does help out. That's something I definitely learned, was like having a little bit of extra time to get some basic campaign kind of things squared away, so you can actually just be out there outreaching to folks during those last 3 months when it really counts. That would have been very helpful, and I think that is something that we need to take into consideration for folks that are going to want to run in the other 3 wards. And if Sarmiento doesn't deliver, I don't know, like are we looking for an upstart? Like, okay, like he's not progressive enough. I don't think that's going to happen, but just like for that next race, it's going to be timing, right? And that does help out. So that organizational time really helps, and I think that was a major factor in Ward 5.
Indeed, and you're right. It's definitely something that other people. I mean, whether like how early you start, and but also like what kind of politics you're gonna play. So then Alosa is gonna have microscope under him and see. He's been voting like in like on, I don't know, on the right side when it comes to like maybe the left progressives, but like it's gonna be really key to see if he's going to be the 5th vote or how the votes are going to break down, even within the new council. But a tie, councilwoman elect Ty Fan, all the candidates comments, all the candidates who won had 3 things: 1, preparation; 2, organization; and 3, nonstop voter contact until the very end. So I agree. And also I think just building a broad base, whether it's like in your community, but also coalitions really kick butt. And also honking waves do not work. Just don't do it, please.
Yeah, that was kind of weird for me. I like it, but
feels good. It's not going to get it done.
Yeah,
no, not in and of itself. We got to voter engagement.
And there is one other shout out that we should probably not forget here, right? Is I think the one organization that picked all 4 of the winners here locally was Unite here, Local 11. So they came in hard. They came in like heavy. They did the COVID friendly door knocking towards that last month. Their outreach with their own members, the kind of support that they gave. They chose all the right people. Like whatever their kind of endorsement process was, I'd actually like to take a look at that to figure out how they did it, because they were spot on, right? Like I could not have created that like level of accuracy, right? And they did it. They absolutely did. So that was, I think, another big player here that we saw that didn't necessarily play with money. They played with what actually matters, which is the support of working people in a city that's working class.
But they did lose Sergio Contreras.
Oh God, that reminded me. I was
still
so
hurts.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is good. Unite Here did kick butt, and helped out. I think a big thing to consider is that a lot of their workers are out of work, so a lot of them could then get put onto these things. I mean, these are people that are that are organized, that can speak to the voters about in their language, right? Like Latinas, Latino working class folks. So but Sergio, well,
What happened?
we could talk all about Santana, and we should. I want to come back and ask you about like the recent council meeting with, of course, Nelida, like reading everything that the building trade said, including that I'm not a puppet, which only puppets say, in my opinion. But also the Third and Broadway thing. But just
what about
overall,
that one song that goes like, "I'm your puppet"? Are they also? Well, they are puppets. You're right. Never mind.
I'm not a puppet. Puppet. That's what I would have yelled if I would have been in the council meeting. I'm not a puppet. So what happened in Orange County around like the juice saw, like because in Santana we folks kick butt, but in other cities, whether it's Orange or
Let's go to Anaheim.
there's just not happen. So Oscar, fortunately, in Rodriguez and HB did not win his race. So
right, but you did.
He had Tito Ortiz there that split the Latino vote, baby.
Tito Ortiz,
he got the most votes.
He killed it.
Killed it.
We got one guy though. Dan.
2 people actually.
Two. Okay.
Two of the 3 that came on the show got in.
Yeah, you got to be happy about it, even though Oscar didn't get there. I mean, it's the work being done.
But the good thing with Huntington Beach is I thought that they were on like so are they like still kind of essentially citywide and then on 2-year cycles? Is that like, so he can still run again, right? He's basically built a fairly strong kind of presence and infrastructure there. So if it's anything close to what happened, like he's got a really good shot in 2 years.
Right.
So that's the Oscar going anywhere. Oscar, friend of the show. I'd like to consider him a friend of mine as well.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Let us know. Oh.
Yeah, happy birthday.
What about going to Anaheim? I hate to talk about it almost because it seemed like Santa Ana was a celebration, but Anaheim, I just want to cry a bit. Yeah.
That was a lot more money, right? So like I only deal with like Santa Ana politics, so that is it's crazy the amount of money that the House of Mouse, the developed and kind of tourism industry and everything is able to present there. Yeah. Really, I think the only way that's going to be moving forward, it ends up going to be a block by block kind of voter outreach effort. That's I think as some of the folks are saying, not me, us, like a very much grassroots based movement that doesn't stop between now and the next 2 years. And that is not going to be the work of any one particular campaign. I think that is going to be, kind of a level of organizing to combat all that extra money. I don't necessarily foresee anything that could be enacted on by the voters themselves in order to restrict the amount of outside money. I think that is, if there ever was the case for trying to figure out local financial public funding options or local basically changing the financing model for local elections, I think Anaheim would be a good case because you guys do relatively well, I think, with ballot propositions, right? Once you get the signatures and get folks organized and you put it directly to Anaheim voters, you have a shot at kind of remaking the field. But as long as, kind of, I'm not sure, did you guys break $1 million in any of these races or?
In Anaheim?
Yeah, in Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean, it got close to it. For sure, like there was like around $500,000 in Denise Barnes's race. Avellino's race, they spent like a crap load of money. And Fassel, I mean, they just, what happened there was that they were just flush with money, right? They had just gotten some of that COVID money, and through all sorts of Byzantine type of like money switching, they were able to get that money into the candidates and supporting the ones that they needed. Like, so that was part of what they did. Anaheim is just, it's so sad, because I feel all sorts of things, but ultimately I feel like it was like I feel bad for Jose Moreno. He's the only person gonna be there, like that's just and while the council by and large is gonna do what they want. Like, and now Jordan Brandman and Avelino will just, take turns doing like symbolic votes, to see like, hey, like I'm not such a bad guy, because now they can, but they need 3 votes in order to put things on the agenda. So that's my take. I say this about Avelino. We'll see, what happens, but I'm very much concerned that it's just going to be another Jordan Brandman situation.
All right, no, and we'll definitely see. And I know that's going to be now Dr. Moreno's. I guess we'll see if he can work with the other 2 Democrats. And I don't know if there's anyone else on the Republican side there. So I'm much more or much less familiar with the inner workings of Anaheim for sure. So.
Yeah, and maybe this goes to part of what Jose's warning was earlier, is that the machine adapts too. And I think in Anaheim, that's what we've seen, right? They've been able to leverage the new rules of the game in their favor again.
Yeah, but it's also a tourism destination. Anaheim is unlike any other city, I would argue, in Orange County, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Irvine is up there in that, like the Irvine.
Yeah, but you don't have like the one singular development interest. Well, the one singular economic interest. Because even if you took away the Irvine company, though they are very much still a player, there are other development firms down there that might disagree with particular decisions from the Irvine company. There's UCI that acts as a kind of like liberal bastion and counterbalance to it, and then the generally diversified economy that is the greater Irvine area, right? It has probably one of the most diverse kind of set of businesses within, kind of finance, manufacturing, technical industries within the Irvine business complex, both kind of north and south. So it is nowhere as singularly dominated by tourism and entertainment in the same way that Anaheim is.
Right. Yeah, it's a little different chemistry going on. But I guess maybe it's a warning message to Santa Ana to not relish the victory too much, to learn from what has happened. And maybe one other thing, like what we say was a good idea. That was their tagline. It's a good idea. What was it called? The platform of progressive candidates in Santa Ana. We interviewed them on the show. Andrew Hauserman, all the people. What was the name of the group?
Cooperative campaign.
Cooperative campaigns. It's a good idea. But I mean, didn't most of their candidates win as well?
Yeah, that was solid. That was a solid win too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like maybe that's a tactic that can be used in Anaheim. I don't know if there are these platform coalition movements to push platforms of.
Well, yeah, I would say a lot of the folks that operated in one operate in the other city as well, right? So a lot of the folks that devoted their energies on cooperative campaigns, not all, but some have experience in Anaheim and connections with the Anaheim kind of progressive community. So the main thing though is do you have good candidates that can run campaigns that are number one, are they actually going to kind of share your values? 2, will they be organized to actually execute, and will they do the work? Because you have a lot of folks that would love it, great ideas, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. And can they actually bring together other people? So can they start forming those coalitions? So you do have to find those candidates, and the earlier the better. In order to give them more time. But I think a lot of the folks that went on the progressive side, it wasn't just a singular organization. It was the coming together of various folks, both in labor, in progressive activism circles, a lot of folks from our immigrant justice community that assisted, and then people that have just done technical work on campaigns, right? So it's when, if you don't or have never had any access to any kind of voter data management system, you need to know that, or at least have someone that can do that for you, because then that's extremely important with your voter targeting, the ability to get phone numbers and being able to then dial those numbers, right? I think by the end of it, we'd had somewhere around, man, Andrew's gonna hate me for this, but it was either it was around 10,000 votes, or 10,000 phone calls that were made. So that makes a huge difference. Not all of them connect, but the ability to kind of track people down becomes a lot easier when you have people with the technical expertise to run a campaign. And that's something where kind of build it now, build it early, and then start working on it.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it takes a village, as my bearded co-host always says. Yeah, it's just there's a lot more to it, and I think folks that are looking to get into it, as mentioned by Carolyn, you got to get decided to run and as early as possible, build up that infrastructure. You don't need all the money, but you definitely need some money. There the times where an Angie Amesqua can just like limp it with like $300 spent is very rare. And should not be seen as like something that can happen to you.
No, it can though. But here the
valid designation is, as Carolyn also mentioned, is also important, right?
Right, because there were three things that happened in that election that made it work out. Right, it was Valerie Amesqua was running, so she had Amesqua signs all over the city. So there was a lot of Amesqua. So it's a lot of money coming in there. But Valerie did not win that particular year, from my recollection.
That had ran previously too, right?
Right.
Ironically.
Yeah. Right, and so we've had a lot of Amesquas that have run in the city. So people that like know the name, like so with Alfonso Amesqua, I'm not sure if that was the year after the cycle after he had run for mayor. So there was kind of this Amesqua name already. Angie Amesqua, this was before California kind of redid the order, the ballot order. So then you had her at the top, and then it was a teacher designation, and she just lived here for a long time. So there are a lot of random things that happened in order to get that. So it shows you the power of your designation, the power of the order in which you're in. I think she might have been the only woman in that particular cycle as well. So then there's the gender bias and the ability to have a good name. So all those things came together, and she was the most unhappy councilwoman I've ever seen.
Oh no!
She's like, I was not supposed to win. I don't think
it wasn't that. She was
supposed to vote for Eric Alzarati, I think.
No, but it was more than anything. It was that I don't think she liked the meanness of it. Like she was actually like a genuinely like nice and like caring person. And that particular cycle I think was still fairly like toxic as far as like things going on. So
the drama.
Lisa was there. It was toxic. Period.
Yeah, so I think that was it. Like she really like did not. Oh, Alfredo Amesqua. Thank you. No, Alfonso. Sorry. Alfonso, Alfredo.
Yeah, not to be confused. Alfonso Alvarez.
Oh, Alvarez. There you go.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
Alfonso Alvarez, friend of the show, tuning in.
Oh yeah, but dude, I remember one of the last council meetings with Angie Amesqua in there, and like there's a really heated topic on the floor, and there's a lot of comments, a lot of discussion, and then Polito's just like, "Well, Angie, why don't you take it?" And she's like, "Of course you pick me," and it was just like just a funny moment. God bless her soul. But yeah, that's an interesting analysis as to why she won, because you were wondering about that.
Yeah. Well, so all to say that, wait, a question. Are you happy that Trump won or Trump lost? Yeah, sorry. Are you happy that Trump lost?
You could either
or
are you happy that Biden won?
I'm okay with the Biden win. Like I think I've how do I say this?
Traitor! How dare you? You are a Bernie crat.
I am.
Manny Escamilla.
I am and voted for Bernie in the primary, but at the same time, it's like the little ability to say, like, look, like when you have like the choice between a pseudo wannabe tyrant that doesn't understand or care like at all about how governments actually impact lives, like to the point where he doesn't do the bare necessities to save the lives of Americans during like the greatest pandemic we've seen in this country's history, because this is bigger than the Spanish flu at this point, right? It's like as far as like its impact.
Mm-hmm.
And someone who at least has like a semblance of sanity and a semblance of the capacity towards empathy, like to me, I'm not just celebrating that. It's like I'm really glad Biden won. Like, and in fact, in that sense, as compared to 4 more years of ongoing horror. It's not to say that I'm going to agree with like Biden and even now his like incoming appointments, but that is still going to be a world of difference between people that are clinically unhinged and unable to distinguish between reality and online memes, right? And that is what is basically taking over in this country. So I'm very glad that we won that and won it by all those votes. So I'm pretty happy with that, because otherwise it's like, why do I even bother with any of the political work if what I need to do is basically just appeal to the darkest instincts within humanity in order to win?
I just heard Manny Escamilla First of all, very low IQ person.
Low energy.
Low energy.
I'm low energy. I'm very sleepy. I'm a sleepy person. I like sleep.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Man. No, I think
Ah.
I think you nailed it. I think it's just a breath of fresh air compared to, like, the shitstorm that has been the Trump administration. Like, literally anything would have been better than Trump for another 4 years. I'm really concerned. I've been saying that, I felt that we were going to have issues of violence. It hasn't gone too bad, but then again, January 20th isn't here just yet. So I think people are very angry. People are still stocking up with guns and ammunition. They're still selling out at Big Five, in all the places to buy ammunition. Apparently, it's really hard to get. So that is troubling. But yeah, I think in so many ways, there's just going to be better. But at the same time, like, I think folks should not be complacent in any way, right? There's in a lot of ways the same kind of swampy corporate type of peoples are looking to be put onto the cabinet, and people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and other quote unquote progressives or non-quotes in case of Bernie are getting shunned. Yeah.
But it is really hard to appoint a senator, like, just because you're afraid you're going to lose that seat, and with the seats being so close, like, even having a viable, like, Republican candidate against Warren, or to fill in Warren's seat, or the same thing with, like, Bernie. I'm not sure exactly the mechanics of appointment versus the specifics as to whether or not someone would need to run there, but that always becomes a consideration. That's why you can get rid of, like, Kamala, because it's California, and Newsom's going to appoint someone else who's just, I don't know.
Who should he? I think
Robin.
Really confused, man.
I
actually who to appoint.
I actually do have, like, a favorite. I like Ro Khanna, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I like his work. I think that he is probably the most forward thinking person that we have, like one of the most forward thinking persons that we have in the House, and he comes out of California, represents kind of a different vision for the way that you have political progressive politics, with, like, the structural change that you need to do that with, right? So all this technology change, like everything with advanced manufacturing, just the amount of investment it takes to get people into the knowledge economy and to kind of get away from this race to the bottom. Like, I think he checks all those boxes, but he hasn't really been brought up in consideration because he doesn't fit the demographic profile. But I think that he's the best person to represent and kind of move the state forward at that for that.
What about Kate Porter or Kevin De Leon, or I don't know?
Oh, come on! They're not. Are they Wall Street lobbyists? Because that's who's getting there.
Yeah. It's kind of
that's
Dylan's probably right there. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's gonna look like Obama's administration, which is like pretty much just a bunch of Wall Street people.
John Kerry's on there. Yeah, I saw that. He's on.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy, but I'm also like, it's still a very precarious situation, right?
Yeah, especially because we don't know if the Senate's going to be on the Democrat side. So that if the runoff elections don't go the Democrats' way, and they need both of them in order to get the tiebreaker, which would be Kamala Harris. So it's a very, very narrow, Senate, takeover, even as it is, right? But if not, then what the hell is going to happen? He's not going to be able to do shit, right?
Yeah, no. So it'll mostly be the executive orders, some bipartisan infrastructure bills, and then maybe some extension of the lower threshold for the tax. Let's see, what is it? The taxes that were lowered under the Trump administration, the only ones that were set to essentially lapse were the ones for lower income individuals. So those will probably get extended, right? So we won't see necessarily taxes being raised on lower income earners, because that seems to be both bipartisan and we'll still need Senate action on, and everyone's kind of walks away a winner from that one. I don't know if anything will happen on, like, the organizational side of things, because it's also just getting people back into the jobs that were essentially gutted, right? So the civil service in this country has been gutted. Everyone that was an expert in everything that, like, controls, like, from how poisonous your water is to how, like, whether or not your meat's, like, being inspected, to, like, basic things with science, like investments and scientific studies and data that disappeared off the web, right? We literally had, like, agencies of the U.S. government deleting data off their websites because it disagreed with their findings on climate change, or the administration's findings on the lack of climate change. So, those things are going to shift. But it's going to be very hard to have big pieces of bipartisan or big pieces of reformist legislation, and that was going to be tough regardless. And now it seems almost not impossible, but it's going to be very, very uphill.
Hey, so people want to talk about school board race. So what happened?
Oh yeah.
What happened to Oscar Reyes, man? Like I saw his cool videos. Like I was just like, man, this guy's kind of cool. But I still don't want him to be a school board member. But it's still epic, right?
It was a good story and it was a good video. But the only problem with that video was, and I wasn't sure if this was in violation of campaign finance laws, because it was a video produced by by the U.S. national soccer team, right? So it's like a national nonprofit organization that like runs it, and then created the video, but then it was used multiple times like as branded essentially content for his run. So I'm not sure so that kind of always sat wrong with me. Like, okay, yes, it's a nicely produced video, but it's being produced for this other thing and now being used for a campaign. So I'm kind of like questioning like everything that's going on there. So that was weird. But at the end of it, I think that what it showed was the split that you have ongoing with the Santa Ana Unified School District Board, where you essentially have 3 of the newer council members that were now in control of the direction of the school board, right? So they have the 3 votes, they have the majority votes, and you had the 2 older members that are essentially trying to get one more person on there, probably knocking out Alfonso. I'm sorry, Alfonso, I think you were the target. So to try to knock out Alfonso out of the seat, so they could have like that 3 vote majority again. And I think what they didn't think about or take into consideration, maybe they did, or just didn't think it was going to happen, or were less concerned about it and kind of crossing that bridge when they may, is if it essentially energized an entire cohort of people that came in to support, basically what the doctor, the professor, and the teacher, which seems like a very good makeup for a school board. I'm not gonna lie, but like in my dreams,
well educated.
Like I have a professor.
The players of Clue.
Yeah, it's like it's just everything. It's
doctor
like
in the council chamber with a monkey wrench. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry. Man. Yeah.
But, no. Yes.
So it's just like a very strong school board, like already, yes. And it seemed like they were like as far as like the case for like incumbents, like they made a very strong case for what they were doing, the direction they were trying to take the school board, and then to give them another, set of, let's see, their terms are 4 years as well, then, right? So another like 4 years to basically get it done, makes sense. And now, they're going to have, I think, a backlash from kind of that base that was riled up to vote for them. Now questioning whether or not they want to retain Palacios and Amezcua for this 2022 cycle. And I'm if they're thinking about it, to what extent, it means that someone's running for a different race because they're like, ooh, I don't know about this local stuff anymore because it obviously swung one way.
Yeah. But I mean, they got more, Amezcua, like you said earlier, good name. In Palacios is like Pulido in the school board. He's been there forever. Maybe they should consider term limits there. But what the voters do not want is a soccer coach on the school board. It was very clear.
Yeah. Well, there was like 12,000 people that wanted it, but I guess 34,000 people wanted a teacher on the school board, which makes way more sense. But yeah, to not to put ideas out there, but by putting out ideas out there, term limits seemed like a very nice thing to take up the very first session of this next school board. And well, the only problem there ends up being that it's not gonna be retroactive. So the terms are only going to apply to the new terms for like someone who's been on there for however long, right? Yeah. So they're basically limiting themselves more than anything. That would be the right thing to do.
It's kind of what happened with Pulido. His term was started when they passed that. I just want to say, man, I'm so happy to see Carolyn Torres just dominating this election, and her win last time was one of those things that kept me sane during that election, and kind of like one of the things that like you didn't expect to ever happen, but it's perfect actually.
No, well, we have a history of kind of the most progressive, I'd say, local political actors in the city coming in from the school board, much more so from the city council. Part of it having to do with the different boundaries for the school district as compared to the city council. But just historically, you've had a lot of really important progressive wins on school boards because it tends to be where a lot of people are really invested. Working class folks that send their kids to public schools.
Yeah.
Big
Hey,
time.
so we gotta wrap up. We've been here a while.
Yes, we do.
No, we're not the Joe Rogan show. We can't go for 3 or 4 hours.
We can be.
Got kids.
We
to feed.
can. We're doing it.
Yeah, we got hamsters to feed. I don't know. We got.
Let's just bring them on the show.
Cats. Dylan's got cats, right, Dylan?
They're self-sufficient.
Do I still? I don't know. I haven't checked.
Check under like the couch and it's just like
Where are?
he's just like flat on there.
Escape.
Yeah, now my dogs are just like looking at me sad. Being like,
what
"Why
are
didn't
you
pet
doing?"
me?"
Dude, is that your room? Are we seeing where the magic happens in the background?
This is Manny's room with different art. So we have like Dino Perez over
nice.
here, Jovan Kingsby.
Get the art tour, the local art tour.
There is Beverly Salas, who's technically from Anaheim.
Do you have a Matt Southgate in there? What's going on?
I don't have a Matt Southgate. Matt Southgate's someone I've been trying to collect, but his prices were too expensive. From
You heard it here first.
No, the gallery prices are always way more expensive. But I need to like, and he did say like, yeah, reach out and have a sweetheart deal because he actually is one of the only people that still kind of continues. Like Emilio Vasquez is kind of like street scenes and his like street like paintings of the city. So I thought that his work is very much in continuation of that.
Right.
So I really admire Matt Southgate's work, but I hardly ever see it on sale. When I do, it's only at a gallery. I never see Matt Southgate to be like, hey, Matt.
Yeah, well, I'll find it. Maybe I can make a connection.
Dylan. Come on.
Also, wait, one more thing before we leave school district elections. Jose Paulo Macallis winning in Anaheim. I guess that is a win in Anaheim. So that was something to be happy for.
Dude, hell yeah. Paulo Macallis.
Yes.
There's a lot of good things that happen. Farrah Khan, she was a friend of the show. She won.
Yeah.
She's the mayor of Irvine. Yeah. Susan Soni in Buena Park, councilwoman now as well. So
I also want to say, like, there's some person I think you guys should get on. I've been trying to find out more, but he seemed like had a very interesting story, which is now for our for the Rancho board, David Crockett or David Crockett.
Can we call him David Crockett?
No, it's not Davey. It's David.
David Crockett.
But yeah, maybe he goes by Davey.
Davey Crockett. Yeah.
Yeah, we should get him on the show. We'd love to have him. That and whoever runs Saving Santa Ana. We'd love to have them on the show.
All right, but it's gonna be like mysteriously only through text messages and like no face.
Yeah. He's sad because his like friend, the one that got away, says he lost. Oh.
Wait, Uncle Sal beat Mike Gonzalez again.
Oh no! Mexicanísimo lost. Oh. First it goes up in flames, and now he loses. Like, my gosh!
Didn't they run against each other at the city council?
Yeah.
At some point, Mike Gonzalez has run multiple times. Yes.
Yeah, he's a multiple loser. He just runs for everything. Oh, you know who else lost and is a big loser?
Oh no!
Freaking Loretta Sanchez.
Oh,
really?
Yeah,
no! I didn't even see that.
She lost. She lost handedly too, which is like super embarrassing.
Just go. Just retire. You're embarrassing yourself, Loretta.
Ouch.
Give it up.
Yeah, Loretta needs to like. Here's the thing: if she would have just stopped like after like fighting against Kamala, she could have had a very nice consulting business. But now losing twice like that, like in like succeedingly like lower tiered like level elections,
might win a school board. Who knows?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. But like now we'd have to like she'd have to go.
Didn't she lose an ADEM election?
Did she?
I thought she did.
Damn. Yeah. But I would actually see that more so because that's party insiders, people that like vote. Oh, so if anyone's interested in running for ADEMs, I think the applications are out now, so you can be a voting member to the California delegation of Democrats. What's the? Do we have an ADEM member here to say like?
Yeah.
I think I am. I think I heard. If I recall. Yeah. Go apply. Especially progressive.
Are you running connections?
No, you're a central committee member now, right? So
I am a member elect. So again, member elect. I'll be starting in January. For
that's Yeah, you better.
But that's why I need to learn a lot more about Anaheim. So I got the Santa Ana part of the 69th Assembly District totally blocked down to understand it. But I need to learn a lot more about Anaheim now.
Yeah, you do. But
Part of the
there's
homework.
just so much to learn about, so many things. So I want to just, before we
The
wrap,
harvest is plenty.
so Third and Broadway development project, 16-story mega project, and a freaking hotel is happening in downtown Santana. What's not happening is we're not getting rid of like our city attorney, because Nelly backed away from that. But man, she looks stupid. Like, why did she do that? Like, why were you? And she's like, oh, I just wanted to like save some money by going in-house, but I realized that I don't have the numbers to tell you how we're gonna save money. Who does that? This is a political ploy. Like, stop it. But yeah, so both of those things. What do you think about those projects? Like,
Mike Harris stuff.
Yeah, and I guess you use the magical
Caribou
phrase. Well, the two magical phrases, Mike Harris and Caribou, because they magically make the city council like give away land. The thing with like the project, I think it's like one of the best possible sites to do like this sort of redevelopment project that you'd like for like higher intensity usage. Like if you literally were trying to say like, well, we have an old parking lot, you want to like still keep as many parking spaces and actually like use the space better and like reconnect an urban grid that was like that was bad planning, where they essentially kind of cut the streets off from each other in the very like center of where you would want the streets to be connected. It makes sense. I'm mostly hesitant to the fact that we have the same person developing essentially 4 different sites with very little oversight as to the actual completion of either one and the likelihood of having an additional set of extensions. So basically it's not so much that it's like just this site, but that it's that one Broadway Plaza still hasn't been completed. It's that we have the
started.
structure that's there and it is also kind of maybe boarded up a little bit, but not. I don't see what the movement is on that, and that we have kind of this open idea on the table with the redevelopment of the general plan as to what the OC register site is going to redevelop it into, right? So that particular land use change is going to change it from what it currently is, which is like, I'm not sure if it's commercial or professional right now, but it's like something very low intensity. And then converting that into district center. So he's going to be able to do that proposal that he had for Amazon, like HQ2 there, without having to go through any additional like processes and procedures, right? So it's the fact that all these things are in play for one particular developer that worries me, not necessarily so much the idea of having a fairly tall structure like in the most dense part of town. Oh, there's a cat. Awesome. Yes, distract the cat. Because there are other buildings that are roughly like 10 stories, 8 federal stories, which is pretty much the equivalent of like a 12-story building with the federal courthouse, the office structure that's 2 blocks north of that, and then 2 other 8-story structures that are all low-income housing to the south, right? So if you're going to put tall buildings, it seems to be make the most amount of sense for that tall building, for that area. But there's the other impacts that go along with that, and that's kind of more like the long-term worry. And if Unite here is pretty much against it, it means that there's been no provisions made for any kind of union hiring once it's an actual operation. So there's no kind of commitment to using or to having union work once the
service workers.
So and that's one of those things, like if these folks are like still involved in, like, these are people that we're going to be fighting for, they're not actually involved in that project. There's that.
So is it going like or is there still a second vote that needs to happen? Like will the next council have to like give it the final go ahead?
My understanding is that they managed to get it through, and especially because this current city council still has one more. I thought this was the second reading. I'd have to double check again. I was on the road for 2 weeks. And
come on, Manny, you can't take a break. Jeez, what do you think this is?
I thought it was after the election, so I took a break. So if you had asked me this earlier, I would have been able to find out. But now it's going to take a while for me to look at this.
I think it's the first vote, but isn't there another
musical segment?
There's another council meeting, right?
Yeah, there's still one more council meeting
next. So then they'll be able to approve it anyways in the next one. Which Penalosa voted against it, and then Sarmiento had to excuse himself for the Pulido term, out of an abundance of caution. I love whenever Pulido said that. It's like, shut up, you abundantly cautious ass.
he was cautious enough to never get in trouble too much.
But no, they were trying to ram through everything that they could because they knew or they thought that they were in trouble.
Yeah, no, this looks like it was the public hearing to adopt it. So they adopted the development agreements, right? So this is the density bonus agreement, the development agreement, and an amendment to the exclusive negotiation agreement. So they did it for, wow, okay.
Yeah, but then people are saying that like 19 low-income homes out of all of it. 16 stories is awful. You should not be allowed more projects if you haven't finished others.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to say that the city needs to basically develop a set of policies to say that we're not going to be in multiple negotiations with someone we're in an exclusive negotiation with, at any one particular time, right? Because it just lets other folks kind of enter and bid. Because one of the things that mostly concerned me for this particular project was that the initial kind of proposal didn't necessarily require an on-site hotel, right? That was kind of thought as an add-on or as a maybe nice. And I'm not sure exactly where Caribou Industries came in, but they weren't the top person selected by the staff and the professional kind of reviewing the project. They were like, well, it's down here, and then we basically magically move them to the top. Again, the magic word, just gonna terribly. But it was because they had because they had the what do you call it, the insight to say that, or the knowledge and the inside knowledge, right? So the insider knowledge, insider trading, insider communication, that the site needed to have a hotel in order to move forward, right? And that was kind of the reasoning, well, this one has a hotel, so we want to really try to get a hotel down here. And downtown Santa Ana did have a history of hotels. It's just that we kept closing them because they turned into single room occupancy. They used to be low income housing in the downtown, and then we basically took them all away. And now we pretend not to know that they're effectively single room occupancy for studios. So they're still housing people in old hotels, but it's not something that we have to look at, and we can benefit from the additional influx of artistic talent that kind of is gravitating towards those micro units, but we don't have to actually kind of give them any sort of rental protections. So that's a whole nother discussion as to kind of what's happening versus what is being promoted.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where the next council can really help to dictate where these types of projects could be fixed, if they are to go through, in a lot of the community does not want them, from all sides of the political aisle. They just, it's interesting how, the NIMBYs and the progressives just unite around, just not, against these projects that many, and for different reasons, right? Some folks are saying gentrification. Other people are we don't need the more traffic and this and that. I am worried about the traffic in the downtown as it is. Broadway's ridiculously small.
It's gonna change a lot.
With the with the train coming through, how is that gonna impact traffic?
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of questions up in the air on that.
Big time.
Yeah, we should have gone BRT, man. All we needed was the same grade, a little bit of asphalt, and then we could have done it for a fifth of the cost. And
BRT was
operating bus rapid transit. So you basically have dedicated bus lanes, and you still would have been able to kind of keep the existing grid. You wouldn't have had to redo so much of the work as being redone right now. And if it turned out to be successful, then you upgrade it to light rail system over time. So it's the way you kind of build in additional transit options while being more cost effective. So you see it in much more income constrained cities that are well, what's the most monetarily efficient way to get a lot of people around a congested city? Turns out it's the very unsexy bus.
Oh, what?
Great. Yeah, it's just a bus, but you actually make the bus really nice, and you make it so that people can get really fast from one side of the city to the other. It ends up being lower impact on just about everything.
Wait, hold on, Manny. But I heard about this new transportation method that's fueled by personal responsibility, and it's you lift yourself up by your bootstraps in the direction you want to go, and you just fucking fucking fly to there. So, yeah, we're trying to build it.
You hover over.
Yeah, personal hover devices are still a ways away. I like your enthusiasm, Dylan. Still a few years away at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought of the Horatio Algers of transportation there. So, yes.
Oh man. Hey, yeah, lightning round. No, lightning round.
Lightning round.
Hardball round.
Oh.
Are you running for office, Manny? What's the future for the voters of Santana?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely weighing my options for 2022. Quite honestly, I spent this last year working on campaigns and trying to kind of move things in the right direction. I'm glad that it's moving in that general direction. I honestly just need to basically transition back into the regular workforce and become a planner so I can sit from a desk and then plan stuff and then go and be one of those evil folks trying to get something built somewhere. Yeah, but it's balancing the needs, right? It's like balancing the needs of different community interests. So I'm looking to basically get back into that really as my focus for the next year, and then the year after that I'm going to kind of evaluate as to what that 2022 looks like.
Okay, all right, man. Well, I gotta say you're one of the most prepared and knowledgeable folks that we've had on this show. Like, you've really broken down every single race, and in so many ways. So I think, the hopefully the voters of Santana will get it together and do what's right for them, and elect somebody.
No, it wasn't the voters. It was myself. I could have been more organized. I should have worked harder. There was way more that I could have done. And as a candidate, you take full responsibility for the end result.
Man, there we go. Yeah, even and humble. Man, what more do you want? Yeah, man. So I appreciate you saying that, because I think that there's a lot of that that needs to go around for all candidates that that didn't win this time around. But if you're, especially if you're a younger person, like Oscar Rodriguez should totally run in 2022, and the candidates that threw their hat in the race, they might consider running, or they might consider supporting other candidates that might be their time to shine. But yeah, start early, build a base, raise some some money for you to do at least one mailer, and don't drop roses off at people's doors, or like sanitation wipes, as was in the case of Claudia Alvarez or Jose.
She said, Florio. Yes, Florio. That's right.
He gave out wet wipes?
He gave out wet wipes. He gave
Oh,
out
wow.
so many wet wipes.
So many wet. I saw them on the ground and I was like, oh.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that. But I hope someone saved the rose. If anyone out there saved it and did the dried rose thing. Yeah. I would love to have that as a Santa Ana voting artifact. Yes,
that needs to be for sure. They'll attempt that.
It just says "I love you" on it.
Females. Yeah, no, he said vote for me. I'll be your first female mayor. Mm-hmm. Love Claudia.
Oh, love Claudia.
XOXO.
You know what? I was driving around it must have been around South Coast, and then I just see this insane woman sitting on a car doing this, and I'm like, "Hey, Claudia Alvarez."
No way, was?
And she just drove by, and I was like, "Hi."
Oh, you know what I did see on the corner of Bristol and McFadden one time was two white dudes holding up signs that said Claudia Alvarez equals POA
what?
He's swear to God.
Serious?
That sounds like Darren. That sounds like Darren.
Two white guys?
I have pictures to prove it. I was really confused. I was like, I don't know what they're doing here, but I love them. And yeah, God bless you.
Where was it?
It was on the corner of Bristol and McFadden, where the AutoZone is at.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, where everybody goes when it's
dude, that's fucking awesome.
Protest, celebrate, or riot. Yeah, there.
yeah.
Woo!
Whatever the occasion is. So
yeah.
So it's been lovely.
Lovely. Thank you, Sir Manny Escamilla. You are
knighted.
Yeah,
we are knighting you. You are a knight of It's Happening. Here.
Okay, so I've
been watching
the sword.
I've been watching The Crown on Netflix, which I really recommend. That and that one about the girl that plays chess. That one. But anyways,
I watch both of those.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, we can talk after the show.
Don't spoil the Crown. I want to know what happens in the end.
Okay. You want to know what happens if Prince die?
Yeah, like I love Princess Di.
Whoa!
I really
Spoiler alert! You don't say. Okay.
It's too soon. Okay, I'm not over it yet. I was traumatized.
Yeah, it
traumatized
still
for a while.
hurts. That
Yeah.
is still a painful one.
Never forget Prince Di.
Yes.
Princess Di. All right. Well, Manny, thank you once again. You're awesome. Thank you for everything that you did, and thank you for everybody that helped in all the things that we talked about here today. It's a new day, and hopefully, like you said, winning elections is one part, but governing is going to be the second crucial part. So
indeed,
I know for a fact that we need people like you and your brains to help, ferment that, which will be the policies and the governing that will move forward.
Foment.
Yeah, I'm working on that 35-point policy proposal document. It started off as like 10. Now it's like way more than that.
That's how it goes, though, right? Actually, we need something else. Yeah.
All right, Manny. Well, we will bid you adieu. Thank you so much once again, and we'd love to have you back on when a little time comes by, so we can like break down everything that happens once the new council gets sworn in.
Oh
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh yeah. Thanks for coming,
Sir Manny.
Sir Manny Escamilla.
Of House Escamilla.
De Casa Escamilla.
Casa Escamilla. Yeah, no, Manny's a freaking awesome cat. Really, this awesome. We love talking to him.
Big time.
And so hopefully, 2022 will come around, and that'll be a very awesome addition to the council. But we shall see. Until then, we have so that I believe they're swearing in the new council the first week of December in Santana and other places. January 20th is going to be Trump's big departure. I just can't wait. I wonder if he's gonna just like walk to the airplane like Nixon and just gonna be like,
something to that effect.
I'm not a crook.
Yeah, he's gonna be mopey that day. He's gonna be really cranky.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to celebrate. But no, it was we haven't had a show in a few weeks, so we hadn't had a chance to connect. So I
bonus show.
Really, I was like, Manny, I want to get you on, and so it all worked out. Manny was touring the world, or at the very least, Zion and other cool places. Maybe not Zion, maybe Arizona, Sedona. But anyways, he was traveling as I did, and as folks should, being safe and stuff. But this year's crazy, y'all. But the vaccine is coming, and so that's good. But
that's just a conspiracy. Pfizer and the Democrats and Hunter Biden and one thing I didn't say, by the way, is it's bad that Trump is saying that the election was stolen and stuff, but I mean, come on, the Democrats were like, Russiagate, oh, there's no evidence. Oh, there's collusion. Oh, there's no evidence of collusion. I'm going to say there's collusion for 2 years. Come on, guys. Like, we're not that much better. Their level is much stupider. They're doing it much less. There's much less finesse in their lies.
OAN?
I will tell you that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Forgot to say that. I wanted to say that.
No, it's Trump has been railing against Fox News, so it's very likely that he's going to try to start his own Trump TV.
Cool.
But regardless, people are just going towards these far right television and social media pages. Parler apparently is the place where you can hear people use the N-word very liberally and talk of QAnon and Pizzagate and stuff. But so this is what we have to deal with, ladies and gentlemen, folks.
That's true.
We have to realize that we live in a divided country, and we have to figure out, and I think Dave Chappelle spoke about this when he came on the show, SNL, right? We have to figure out how to bring these people back from it. It's like when people join a vicious cult, and you're just like, oh, you just gotta wait it out. Eventually you'll find a point where they're like, you see cracks in in the Kool-Aid, and you're just like, hey man, just like it's come on, man, come on back. You're better than this.
We would hope we can do that. And I mean, it just goes back to that point I was saying earlier. Like, I feel like the last 4 years has just been like, fuck Trump, and that's good, and fuck everyone who supports him.
Right.
But it's like, that's fine. We should show opposition to these crazy ideas, and it should be aggressive. But like, when does the window shut for this aggression? When I mean, because like, it seems evident to me and most of my friends that Trump is a complete buffoon, an idiot, and just some like rogue like wannabe oligarch. But yeah, like I totally lost my train of thought. That's what we have. That's what happens when you have a 2-hour show.
I know. Yeah, we're starting to get difficult here, and our engineer is starting to like
No, but the point is that like at some point, I mean, we do have to change people's minds unless we can all just move to a place where we all agree or something, or like the country separates. Like, do we actually want to change anyone's mind? Or like, I guess what I was saying, it seems so obvious that Trump's an idiot, but half the country has the same thing with Biden. They just think it's so evident to them that that Trump was the lesser two evils. It's like, I just don't understand the thinking, and I don't think yelling "fuck you" at someone is a way to get there. And I don't know. Are we getting to a time when is the time to offer like what's the middle ground? Like, obviously there are things we can't agree on, right? Like,
yeah, if we're all right, then we're all wrong. And so I think the first part is to understand, like, just don't drink the Kool-Aid from the blues or the reds, from anybody. Make up your own mind, do research. It's easier said than done. We got to develop the critical thinking. That's why I believe strongly in ethnic studies, or societally, culturally relevant, education that allows people to understand things. We got to get them young, as the cigarette companies used to say. We have to get folks to understand these things at a younger level, because once they're adults, it's really hard. They become the Karens and the Kens of the world, and we're not going to shake those people, just like we're not going to shake people that join vicious cults like Scientology and many
that's
others.
hard, definitely harder.
But it's like, like there's a lot of stuff that in many religions that I'm like very like troubled and disturbed by, but then they still go to those temples and churches and synagogues and stuff. And so, we're tolerant in that regard. We can be tolerant when it comes to politics. We have to be. I always say, like, America is a compromise. It was built on a compromise. It was by people that are like, hey, slaves are good, and then people are like, I don't like slaves, but all right, let's figure it out. And that was America. And had that compromise not happened, we wouldn't have had like even this conversation, right? So we're gonna have to figure it out.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
That's a whole call. We can do a show on that very question.
I know, yeah, and maybe that will be the next show where we'll talk about what's stuff. But I will say that there's that black man that goes and talks to former KKK members or current KKK members and gets them out, and he has dozens and dozens of people that through his conversations he's been able to like rescue from that. So I think we need a lot more people like him.
That would be positive, and I feel like at least we can start with white people starting the work. The annoying work of educating other people, right? Like, I mean, I understand why some activists don't want to do that work, or like hold the hand
not everybody
of their oppressor. Yeah, no, they don't have to. They shouldn't have to. But somebody
has to.
Somebody's does, and there's a bunch of people that can. So,
and should, because they have that patience, and that conversation skill set. So we need to be better communicators and better, have better diálogo, as Zapatistas called it. So.
Indeed.
Wow. Until that time, we're going to continue to live in this beautiful, contradiction-filled place that we call planet Earth. Planet Earth. All right. I want to thank Manny Escamilla again for being on. So definitely check his podcast out. What's his podcast called again? Damn, I forgot to ask him. We didn't
we didn't even plug Manny's podcast.
Yeah.
Can you put it in the thing?
Puro Policy Party.
Puro Policy Party.
That's right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So yeah, check him out.
Where can you find that again?
He has a Facebook page too.
Okay. Could we probably get the links?
Manny Escamilla, commissioner. But no, he also... see?
Beautiful.
Who's that voice?
Who's that angelic voice?
Jesus, is that you, Jesus? You owe me $5, fool. All right. I want to thank everybody that tuned in for the first time. Please like us, follow us, share this video. Anybody that lives in Santana, I think they would learn a whole bunch from this particular conversation here. Dylan?
Oh, yeah.
Final comments?
Feeling fantabulous.
Yeah. So, and last but not least, I want to dedicate this show to two individuals. Joe El Cholo, who was on the show previously with my homie Vince Royale, comedian. He passed away due to COVID, I believe, earlier today. So thoughts and prayers for him and his family. He's a funny, hilarious guy, really nice person, so did puppets on his Facebook Live. I would check him out all the time. It's really sad to hear that. And secondly, Fabio Peña, who I went to his memorial today, and it was just really incredible to see how much work he did for the communities in Santana and in Anaheim and in Michoacan, where he was from, and a lot of cross national exchange. He got money for scholarships to kids over there, and and he was a big part in Fiestas Patrias with Michoacan folks and all the things. So and I just got to meet him through the campaign for Sarmiento. So it's just incredible that he just did so much with but and it inspired me, and it should inspire all of us that people that shared some time on this planet, then move on. So then it's incumbent upon us to either carry on their legacy or never forget them, because that's that's what keeps people's memory alive, and also the work the work that they did to make people happy, to make people laugh, or make people understand how important it is to be how important cultura is. So
Indeed.
Sorry to end on a sad note, but really, if there's life, there's hope, and so we have plenty of hope here on the show, and that's why we keep on coming after all these years. 6 years, Dylan. Louise.
Crazy.
So so from Dylan Thompson and Jose Gloria and all of us here on It's Happening family, we are signing off.
It's happening. Whoa.
I have to go.